Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. It is March 29th, 2022, and I spend time on Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern fielding questions from people live, or if they've been sent to me in advance, you can send them through chat on LinkedIn. You can email them to me at thebiggamehunter@gmail.com. If you do an email, in the subject line, just put the phrase office hours. This way I know what it's about and can organize myself in advance of the next show. Also going to say that, folks need help. And, whether it's in job search, hiring, management, leadership, dealing with the workplace issues, I'm here to help. There are very few people who are trained to job search well. It's just a reality to it. And thus, you need to find advisors so you don't have to learn through trial and error. It doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be painful or take as long as it does. I worked in recruiting for many, many years, filled a lot of positions, and you change jobs every once in a while. Maybe. I lived in this world. You come to it from time to time, and thus I can make it easier for you. So whether it's job searching more effectively, hiring better, because again, I've worked with companies and seen what works, what they could do better, and advise firms along these lines. Management, leadership, I cover a lot of territory. So, contact me if you'd like help with that. Certainly, during the show, you can pose questions in chat. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. Now, I start off these shows with what I call a coffee toast. I take a cup of coffee, pause for a second, take a deep breath, and out of my mouth comes words to honor those of you who are in a position where you're trying hard. Now, as we're coming out of this pandemic, as I hope we are, but it sure seems that way, at least the horrors of the pandemic for so many have passed. I've noticed that a lot of folks are struggling to behave properly. Like, let's put aside the Will Smith episode for a second. At the NBA games, people have behaved badly. We've seen flight attendants abused by passengers. Whether you agree with mask mandates or not, they're just the enforcers. They're not the rule creators. So all of you who are coping with this return to normalcy, return to normal, we're all trying to figure it out. So just an acknowledgement to all of you, a quick toast with a cup of coffee today, and blessings to you for your efforts. I'll just put that down. And I'll just remind you, if you've got a question for me about job search, hiring, management, leadership, or asking for advice on a particular workplace issue, put it into chat. I also have a ton of great information at my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. There you can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session. You can visit my blog. There's more than 12,000 searchable posts. Find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's just a lot there to help you. Also, at the site, you can watch my videos from JobSearchTV.com. That's on YouTube. I also have JobSearchTV.com on Amazon. So if you have a Fire TV or a Fire Stick, you can download the JobSearchTV.com app and watch on your big screen set. I also have the #1 podcast in Apple Podcasts for job search, which is called No BS Job Search Advice Radio. It's been on air for more than 11 years, more than 2,300 episodes. It's been acknowledged many, many times as being one of the top job search and career podcasts. Just received an acknowledgement from MaxList on their career podcast guide. It's the 5th year we've been mentioned in the guide. it's a great honor to be acknowledged for the work that I put in. So again, you can subscribe to any of these wherever you like. There's just a lot of great information to help you. So let me go to the first question for today. And excuse me, I have to scroll up. And it starts off with a scenario. This person did consulting in SAP Finance for about 20 years, got married 3 years ago, moved to the United States, and started their legalization process. Pandemic hits, the process gets slower. Obviously, she can't work because she doesn't have the legal right to work in the United States. And now she has a green card, IR6, and can finally go back to work. But it's been 3 years. And although she's been studying, watching lives, continuing to learn, working with her network of professionals to update her, it's still 3 years without work. It's the big issue in her background. What do you do? The answer is an unpleasant one, but it's an honest one. And basically, your likely place of finding work is with consulting firms, because I don't want to say that many of the consulting firms are less critical of people when they evaluate talent, but they're more willing to give you a shot if you can pass the technical interviews. You can explain in your message to them, look, we moved to the US, I was trapped in the pandemic, I'm up to speed, give me a tech, let me see, let me prove to you that I can pass a technical interview. Yes, I know it's been a few years, and I can pass a technical. Give me a shot. And that's really the best bet, because in industry, they're more reluctant to take someone on board who's been out for a few years. In consulting firms, you have a chance because you're revenue to them. So keep looking for SAP Finance roles. You may need to travel to do this because, again, I don't know where you live, but the likelihood is consulting or a consulting firm of some sort is going to give you a chance. And you just need one. And you need to pass a technical from one firm that can get you in with their client in order to get hired. How do you manage people who are clearly smarter than you without them thinking you're an idiot? Well, their job and yours are different. Their job is to execute what you manage them to do. Notice, they're the doers, you're the manager. You have to be competent at what you do. They have to be competent at what they do. And as a result, different jobs, different responsibilities. They report to you. They give you any lip. You bring them into an office and say, I don't understand why you're being disrespectful. Have I done something to offend you? And call them out on it. But I think this is more in your head, that they're smarter and thus better than you. You have different jobs to do. They're looking for guidance from you. They're looking for direction from you. They're looking to have you lead them. They're looking to have you support them getting things done. Give it up. That notion that because someone is, quote, smarter than you and you're their manager, it has no relevance here. Get rid of it. How do you manage people without burning out? Well, I'll start off with the premise that if you're burning out, you're doing something wrong. So you may be trying to do too much and not delegating enough, with the result being you're doing the day-to-day work, you're managing people, you're meeting with users, you're doing everything. And that's not the way to manage. You got to give up some of the functions that you're doing, have people report to you who you know, like, trust, and respect. You won't burn out under those circumstances. And If you are, you need to take a short break, figure out where you're overdoing it, find someone on your team or a consultant to bring in who can help you because you need support. You should not be burning out. Why do recruiters view my LinkedIn profile but never contact me? Well, the answer is you turned up in a search, but your background doesn't fit what they're really looking for. So you may have had the right keywords, could have been too low a level, and the result winds up being that they see the profile, they see what you've actually done, and it's not a fit for what they need. But what you can do is message them back. And in messaging, you can say, LinkedIn told me that you looked at my profile. Let's connect. Was there something you were looking for that you didn't see? Perhaps I have that experience, and we can have a short conversation. And that becomes a way that you can move this ahead and find out the specifics of what they were looking for, what was the job that they're trying to fill, and perhaps it's not there. Perhaps they don't need a lot of experience with it, but try and reach out to them and have a conversation. How do you answer? Tell us about yourself in a creative way. I'm not sure what creative means to you, so it's hard for me to really say. But the goal should be to connect the dots between the position and what your experience is. So initially, and this is in a minute to a minute 15, you give them a high level perspective of your background. I've been in the field now for 10 years. For the last 3 years, I've been working for so and so, where I've done this and that and this and that. Before that, I worked for so and so, where I did such and such. And what's relevant in my background to this role, as I understand it, is my experience with, and now you connect the dots so that this way they know that your background fits the role. Is that creative? Hey, look, your job is not to be a comic. Your job is not to be a singer. Yes, if you want to be creative, you can sing your answer. I've been in the field now for 4 years. Most recently, I've been working for, and who would want that? Who would want that from you? Connecting the dots between your experience and what they want is the most important thing that you can do in answering that kind of a question. Do it. Connect the dots for them. Since so few people do that, and most of what they do is talk about what they've done, not talk about what they've done that matters to the interviewer. So focus on what you've done that matters to them and not just what you've done. So I'm just going to pause for a second and say, if you've got questions about job search, hiring better, management, leadership, or want some advice about a workplace issue, put your question in the chat. I'd be very happy to answer it, okay? Let's move on unless someone pops into chat. And the next question is, why do career counselors provide career guidance but rarely place clients while campus career offices work with actual employers and are able to bring in real live recruiters? The answer is the two jobs are different. Private sector career counselors or coaches are there to guide you through the process. If you want someone to schedule interviews for you, you want a recruiter. Those are the people that you loathe because you think that they push you around, treat you like a body, and all that other sort of stuff. Campus career offices, all they do, and I have to say, I'm not trying to be demeaning to them, but most of them push paper. They schedule fairs. They talk to students, but they don't really know what they're talking about. They have book knowledge about it, but they've never filled a position in their life. So all they're doing is coordinating job fairs where employers come in and students interview. It's your job, and they'll give you some real simple basics about how to interview or point you to a video that'll teach you how to interview. Like I know one school uses one of mine about interviewing. and they don't really have practical experience. They give unrealistic advice, and thus it's different jobs. The private sector people, they know how to find work. Their job is not to place you in a job, to set you up on an interview. That's what recruiters do. That's what third party recruiters do. Your job is to execute on a plan, identify what it is you want to do, ideally where you want to do it, learn from the private sector people so that this way you don't make as many mistakes. It's one of the reasons I create as much content as I do, because I know not everyone can afford my coaching services. But if you go to JobSearchTV.com, thebiggamehunter.us, my website, or listen to and subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio, it's just so much information I put out there. It's not customized to you, but you can learn as you watch my videos, read the stuff in my blog, listen to the podcast. There's just a lot of great info there. So different jobs, different responsibilities. What schools want career counselors to do is to set up job fairs for the students to parade in and employers to pick them out. And private sector people have a much bigger job. There we go. Do W-2s show up on background checks? Maybe. If you disclose employment on an application and you're working for multiple firms, it shows up. However, I'm also going to say that there's no federal law that prevents an employer from requesting a W-2 to verify past employment or salary history. However, certain state laws may ban such inquiries or prevent or prohibit employers from asking for that information. So, can they find out? Yes. And especially if they request it of you, and especially if the service that they use to do the background check identifies something a little funny in your background. What are the signs of bad management to look for as a pre-hire? Translated, I'm interviewing with a company. How do I recognize bad management? Well, if everyone seems dead, if everyone seems, it's hard here, and I'm depressed, if the next smile you see is going to be the first one, if no one seems to care about their work, if they're talking with you about projects that are delayed, and it's like we're 3 months behind on this thing, we're trying to bring on more people, that's another sign of delay. If you're in a situation where there's lots of little things, but ultimately as you talk to people and they say, so do you have any questions for us? What do you like about working here? Should be one of your questions. And notice their response to that question. If they have to think about it for a long time, they're probably not all that happy. True? And you don't ask a manager about it, that question, because they're prone to, shall we say, lie to you. And why are you putting yourself in the position of being lied to? When it's a potential peer and you ask them, what happened to the person who I'm replacing? What did they do well? What could they have done better? The done well is something that tells you what you should be doing once you're on board. Done better tells you about some of their foibles. And if they seem pretty normal, that's one of those indications of bad management. Let's continue. Let's see now. Does online job search work? Yes. Everything works in job search. just never works as well as we'd like or comes across as fast as we like. And I've said that to people for years. I know it's an unsatisfactory answer for many of you, but the fact of the matter is, so many people are applying to jobs online, and they're getting hired. And they're not getting as many responses as they want because often, they're applying to things they're not qualified for. But online job search works, and the statistics are 70 to 85% of positions are filled as a result of networking. The balance is filled as a result of recruiters. It's filled as a result of applying. 70 to 85% through networking. So where do you think you want to spend most of your time? I think it's with networking. What's the hardest part of a job search? Obviously, this is my opinion. I don't look at these questions in advance. This is really done live for you. So what I'm thinking of is there are just thousands of details that go into a job search. It's why I've got 7,000 plus videos on YouTube and more than 2,300 podcasts. There's so much minutia that goes into a job search. You just got to be aware that you're an amateur and you need to understand how the market works. And that's what I do as a coach. I help you understand how to get things done more effectively, get better results faster, so you're not learning through trial and error or making mistakes that prove costly. So I can't be more specific than that. Get out there, start talking to folks. Someone will want to hire you. And I'm just going to remind you to put your questions into chat so I can respond to them. Also to visit my website to schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session, to visit my blog, and to find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's a lot of great information there. And as well as subscribing to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube and No BS Job Search Advice Radio in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. So let's continue on. Let's see. As a dad, my daughter told me she wants to move back into my house because she lost her job due to layoff and COVID-19 uncertainty. Should I allow her to come back? Job search could be 2 to 3 years. She's 23 and an engineer. What makes you think job search is going to take 2 to 3 years? Seriously, what makes you think that? If I could understand if she's in petroleum exploration, that could be an issue because this administration doesn't like petroleum or natural gas. So that's really the only circumstance where an engineer should be struggling at this time. Perhaps she doesn't know how to job hunt, and thus she's making lots of mistakes. But the question is, should you let her back in? Of course you let her back in. Do you want her in school? Or let me restate that. Do you want her to be sleeping in a homeless shelter? Do you want her to go hungry? You set a limit and maybe refer her to a coach or someone who can help her, guide her in her search, help her with interviewing, help her get results. That's what you should be doing. Tell her, I'm going to let you in for no more than 6 months. You can find the job in 6 months. If COVID breaks out again, we'll revisit the conversation. But as things stand now, she doesn't have to be job hunting for 2 or 3 years, unless, again, she's in the oil and gas industry. Other than that, she should be able to find work within 6 months. As of now, this is the last question. I'm just going to take a quick peek in chat. No. So A software engineering recruiter mentioned that the team said you had strong engineering skills, but they didn't think you were the right fit to actually do the job. Is this a standard rejection, or do they, saying, well, do they mean the candidate is good, or could it be a standard rejection resume, a template? So I want to start this off by saying everyone lies in job search. You're exaggerating what your capabilities are. It's just the nature of being a job hunter. You want a job, you're going to say whatever necessary to have you get that job. So job hunters exaggerate, employers exaggerate. It's sad, but it's true. Thus, is it true what they said, that you're competent and they just don't think you fit? Or could it be something else? And the answer is, I don't know. After all, I wasn't in the room with you to listen to your answers, get a sense of your manner and personality, to know whether or not it's that or something else. But the fact of the matter is, employers tend to embellish the truth, so do job hunters, and thus can't tell. Just can't tell. So without any more questions, I'm going to bring this to a close. This is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did and you're watching on YouTube, share it, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, do something that lets people know it was worthwhile. If you're watching on Facebook at Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, much the same thing. On LinkedIn, thank you for watching. And I'll just say that if you like this, share it. It helps other people. Connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. Also going to remind you that my website has a ton of great information that you can watch, listen to, or read that'll help you land in your next role more quickly, help you manage more effectively, hire better, deal with different workplace issues. And I'll just simply say blessings to you. I'm back on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern on April Fool's Day. Have a terrific day, and most important,